In the crisp autumn sunlight of a London morning, Buckingham Palace stood majestic, its golden stonework gleaming, its flags fluttering against a sky of endless blue. The air was sharp with the scent of fallen leaves and polished leather. The palace grounds a stage for tradition and diplomacy. As a diplomatic motorcade rolled to a stop at the visitor's entrance, its black vehicles shining like obsidian, a confrontation was brewing. One that would challenge assumptions, test discipline, and redefine respect between military traditions. Brigadier General Marcus Thornton, a NATO commander with 4 stars on his epaulettes, stepped out with the brisk efficiency of a man who bent the world to his will, demanding a salute from a Queen's Guard. Patrick Winters, for those of you who've lived through the pride of military service, the weight of command, or the quiet strength of upholding tradition, the Queen's Guard are more than ceremonial. They're a symbol of duty, as steadfast as the values you've held through decades of change, like the memory of a wartime oath or the honor of a family legacy. But Thornton's order and Winter's response would spark a moment that rewrote everything the general thought he knew about command and respect. Want to know what really happened? Subscribe now to uncover the truth behind this clash of authority. And join us in exploring stories of discipline that shaped the world. Marcus Thornton was a man of iron precision, his uniform immaculate. Every medal and ribbon placed with surgical accuracy, each crease sharp enough to cut. His 4 stars caught the morning light, a testament to 30 years of command across combat zones on 4 continents, from the deserts of Afghanistan to the jungles of Southeast Asia. At Eton, his broad frame and steel-gray hair carried the authority of a career military man who demanded efficiency in all things. 12 minutes behind schedule. Lieutenant, he muttered to his aide. Lieutenant Davis, as they emerged from the motorcade, his voice clipped with the precision of a metronome. Remind me why I agreed to this detour when the defense conference starts in 3 hours. Davis, a younger officer scrambling to keep pace, adjusted his uniform hastily. The ambassador thought it would be a good diplomatic gesture. Sir, the British contingent specifically requested your presence. Thornton's lips twitched, the words diplomatic gestures sounding like a mild curse. We could be finalizing the Baltic security briefing instead of touring an expensive museum, he said, his gaze sweeping the palace grounds with the cold assessment of a tactician, not the awe of a visitor. To you, who may recall the demands of leadership, perhaps commanding a team through crisis, managing a family through lean years, or upholding standards in a world that tests them, Thornton's impatience might resonate, a reflection of the drive to prioritize mission over ceremony. As palace officials approached with welcoming smiles, Thornton straightened, switching to what his staff called his diplomatic mode: firm handshakes, precise courtesy, but a coolness in his eyes that never warmed. General Thornton, what an honor to welcome you to Buckingham Palace. The lead official began. The honor is mine, Thornton replied automatically, his attention already shifting to a Queen's Guard standing at his post. The guard's scarlet tunic brilliant against the palace stonework. I see your famous guards are on duty, he noted, interrupting the official's historical spiel. Maintaining a tradition is commendable, though I've always wondered about the tactical value of predictable positioning and ceremonial attire. The official's smile faltered. I assure you, General, despite their ceremonial role, each guard is a fully operational combat soldier. Thornton's tone carried polite skepticism. Is that so? He said, turning to Davis. Lieutenant, inform the delegation. I'll rejoin them shortly. I'd like to observe these combat soldiers more closely. Patrick Winters, the guard in question, stood motionless, his bearskin cap casting a shadow across his face. His rifle steady, his eyes fixed in the 1,000-yard stare required by protocol. At Vinignan, with 8 years of specialized training, Winters was a study in discipline. His peripheral awareness honed to near supernatural levels. He'd noticed the motorcade long before it stopped, registering Thornton's purposeful stride. As the general broke from his group. Just 3 weeks earlier, Winters had been extracting a compromised intelligence asset from a hostile situation in Eastern Europe, an operation still classified at the highest levels. The seamless transition from covert missions to ceremonial duty was what made the Queen's Guard unique. Their rifles were no props. Their stillness, no mere pageantry. Among the crowd of tourists snapping photos, Winters noted a distinguished older man in a tweed jacket, his posture radiating military bearing, observing Thornton with a knowing expression. Former British Army, high-ranking, Winters assessed, likely reacting to the palace's changing of the guard announcement. Thornton was closing in now, his expression a mix of curiosity and faint disdain. And Winters braced for what experience told him was coming, a test of his discipline. Another attempt to provoke a reaction. Thornton dismissed Davis with a curt gesture, rejoined the delegation. "Lieutenant, tell them I'm conducting an informal inspection." Davis hesitated, his voice tentative. "Should I inform the British liaison officer?" "Sir." Thornton's expression hardened. "That won't be necessary. Observing public displays doesn't require diplomatic clearance." Davis retreated, leaving Thornton to approach Winters alone. Among the tourists, Colonel Edward Blackwood, a retired British Army officer with 30 years of service, recognized the brewing trouble. His time in the Gulf, serving alongside American forces, had taught him to spot when military authority risked overstepping. He moved closer, pretending to admire a plaque, his ears tuned to the exchange. "Interesting specimen," Thornton remarked loudly, circling Winters like a predator sizing up prey, his voice carrying to nearby tourists. Theatrical, but impressive in its own way. A young American couple exchanged uneasy glances, the wife whispering, "Is he allowed to get that close?" Her husband shrugged, both stepping back as the air thickened with tension. Thornton positioned himself directly in Winters' line of sight, deliberately blocking the guard's forward stare. "You know, in most militaries, we measure effectiveness by action, not inaction," he said, his voice projecting, as if addressing a lecture hall. "Interesting cultural difference." He leaned closer, inspecting Winters' uniform insignia. "Combat experience. According to these ribbons, I wonder if standing perfectly still feels like a proper use of that training." Blackwood's jaw tightened, sensing the provocation's intent. He caught the eye of a palace security officer, giving a subtle nod toward the situation. The officer nodded back, speaking quietly into his radio. Thornton pressed on, his tone sharpening. "I've commanded 3 forward operating bases, led combat operations on 4 continents, and never once did I train my men to stand motionless while addressed by a superior officer." The word superior dripped with self-assurance, leaving no doubt about Thornton's view of his authority. Winters remained still, his discipline absolute. The only movement, a slight flutter of a ribbon in the breeze. "At ease, soldier," Thornton commanded. "Your brigadier general is addressing you." Thornton's voice carried the unmistakable tone of command, honed through decades of instant obedience. He stood closer, making Winters' forward stare impossible without looking through him. "Perhaps they don't teach proper military courtesy in your training," he continued, his voice hardening. "In real combat units, acknowledging superior officers isn't optional. It's fundamental to the chain of command." Blackwood winced at real combat units, knowing the insult would sting any Queen's Guard. Though Winters' face remained impassive, other veterans in the crowd, a Dutch naval officer, a retired Canadian regiment commander, watched with growing concern, their postures stiffening. "You see this uniform," Thornton said, gesturing to his stars. "Before I earned it, I served 2 tours in Afghanistan, watched brothers fall, defending values you mock. This isn't a costume. See, it's a symbol of dedication you clearly cannot comprehend." He circled Winters again, his steps echoing, his posture more aggressive, chin raised. "In every military on earth, soldiers salute superior officers," he declared, his voice carrying to the crowd. "It's not courtesy. It is the command structure that keeps armies functional in chaos. These stars represent authority, recognized by NATO, including Her Majesty's forces. Blackwood stepped closer to an American family, their fascination tinged with discomfort. The guards follow a different protocol, he explained quietly. They answer to the crown first. Their orders supersede even visiting generals, the father whispered. Why doesn't someone tell him that? Blackwood's reply was measured. Some lessons need to be learned firsthand. Thornton's voice grew sharper, his words cutting through the courtyard. This is the problem with tradition over tactical reality. A soldier who can't adapt becomes a liability. In any combat zone I've commanded, this rigidity would get men killed. Veterans in the crowd exchanged knowing glances, recognizing the dangerous collision of military pride and diplomatic protocol. Thornton stepped closer, his shadow falling across Winter's uniform. Let me be perfectly clear, soldier. Your ceremonial role does not exempt you from military courtesy. When addressed by a superior officer, you acknowledge that officer. Guard, this is a direct order from a brigadier general. Render proper respect with a salute now. The crowd held its breath, phones lowering as the moment teetered on the edge of a diplomatic incident. Parents pulled children closer. Veterans straightened, responding to the tone of command. A flicker of anger broke through Thornton's professional exterior, his right hand rising, then settling firmly on Winter's shoulder. When a superior officer gives a direct order, he said, his voice dropping to a dangerous quiet, the only acceptable response is immediate compliance. The physical contact sent a shockwave through the observers. Blackwood stepped forward, his military bearing prominent. General, I must advise you. But Thornton cut him off, his fingers pressing into the scarlet tunic. I understand theatrical tradition, soldier. What I don't understand is blatant disrespect to a NATO commanding officer. A young boy's voice broke the silence. Mom, he's not supposed to touch the guard. Is he? The question hung, innocent yet piercing, articulating the boundary crossed. Winter's response was a masterclass in discipline. His movement so precise, it seemed almost mechanical. One moment, he was a statue. The next, his white-gloved hand moved with fluid efficiency, removing Thornton's grip from his shoulder. The action was neither aggressive nor disrespectful, but definitive, carrying the authority of thousands of hours of drill. Sir, with respect, touching a Queen's Guard is forbidden under standing orders, Winters said, his voice clipped, steady, unapologetic. My duty requires me to inform you of this violation and request you step back to the designated viewing area. The crowd gasped, Thornton's face flushing from stunned to indignant. You dare. He began, but Winters continued, his gaze forward, adhering to ceremonial protocol, even as he spoke. Brigadier General Thornton, while your rank commands appropriate respect within NATO forces, current protocol on palace grounds establishes clear guidelines for interaction with the Queen's Guard. Physical contact constitutes a Class 2 security breach, requiring immediate response. Standing Order 157 addresses interaction with Allied personnel. Guards maintain position and bearing, regardless of visiting military rank, as their oath is sworn first to the crown. Blackwood stepped closer, his voice calm but firm. He's entirely correct. General, the guards operate under the monarchy's direct authority, not NATO's command structure. Their protocols supersede standard military courtesy here. Winters pressed on, his discipline evident in every word. My duty is to the crown first, sir. That includes maintaining prescribed position, bearing, and protocol, regardless of external military authority. This isn't disrespect to your rank, but absolute respect for the oath I've sworn. A new voice cut through, measured and authoritative. Captain James Edwards, Guard Company Commander, approached with a stride that balanced ceremonial precision and battlefield command, his uniform identical to Winter's, but marked by subtle insignia of rank. General Thornton, I believe there's a misunderstanding regarding protocol, Edwards said, his nod acknowledging Thornton's rank without yielding authority. Your guard broke position to address me. Thornton snapped, seizing on the deviation. Edward's reply was smooth, factual. Guard Winters followed Standing Order 157. Paragraph 3. In the event of physical contact or security concerns, guards are authorized to respond with minimal necessary communication and action. Rather impressive adherence to protocol. Actually, Edwards gestured toward a quieter area. Perhaps we might continue this privately. General, I'd be happy to explain the historical and practical considerations of our protocols. As they moved away, Edward spoke with the ease of someone versed in bridging cultural gaps. The Queen's Guard appears ceremonial, but each is drawn from active combat units, soldiers who've served in Afghanistan, Iraq, and beyond. Winters was with Special Reconnaissance in Eastern Europe last month. Thornton's expression shifted, reassessing his assumptions. Combat veterans. He acknowledged, his tone less confrontational. Indeed, Edwards confirmed. The ceremonial role is additional, not primary. Their orders reflect this dual role, maintaining traditions that connect our military present to its historical roots, while remaining combat-ready. They paused in a private section of the grounds, Edward's words carefully chosen. When you addressed Winters, you weren't facing pageantry, but a different command structure. His non-response wasn't disrespect, but adherence to orders prioritizing sovereign authority. Thornton's military discipline reasserted itself. Years of command teaching him to adapt to new information. Even when it challenged his assumptions, I appreciate the clarification. Captain, he said, his tone shifting to a professional engagement. In 30 years, I've encountered many traditions, but none so particular. Blackwood approached, offering his hand. Edward Blackwood, formerly Colonel, 5th Royal Regiment. I served alongside American forces in the Gulf. The handshake emphasized shared experience, easing the tension. What you saw in Winters, Blackwood said, is the discipline that makes these soldiers exceptional in combat. The focus that keeps them motionless enables them to hold position under fire. Thornton nodded, his tactical mind engaging. Different application of the same discipline. He conceded. Edwards added, many guards transfer these skills to special operations, where patience and control are critical. The ceremonial duties build combat disciplines that serve modern warfare effectively. A group of schoolchildren passed, pointing excitedly at Winter's stillness. Their teacher explaining the tradition's significance. Tradition has its place, Thornton admitted, watching their fascination, though I prioritize adaptability in my command. Edwards smiled. As do we. But adaptability takes different forms. For us, it's maintaining a historic continuity, while deploying these soldiers to conflict zones, often within the same month. Thornton glanced back at Winters, seeing him through a new lens. Your guard handled the situation with admirable restraint. Many would have responded more aggressively. Edwards nodded. They're selected for judgment as much as discipline, making instant decisions daily when to respond, when to stay silent, when to act. Thornton's mind processed the lesson, his earlier dismissiveness giving way to respect. Different traditions, different expressions of the same principles. Discipline, duty, chain of command, Blackwood agreed. Well put, General. The uniforms differ, but the values are consistent across nations. As ceremonial music signaled the guard change, Thornton stood at parade rest, his posture reflecting newfound respect for a tradition aligned with his own values, yet distinct in its execution. Winters resumed his post, his stillness a testament to the oath he'd sworn, his response a lesson in the power of discipline over provocation. The crowd dispersed, tourists buzzing with the story, veterans nodding in approval. The boy's question, he's not supposed to touch the guard, is he? Echoing as a reminder of boundaries respected. For you, who've navigated clashes of authority, perhaps in a workplace, a community, or a family where tradition met modern demands, this moment might recall a time when understanding triumphed over ego. When respect was earned through restraint, not force, the encounter rippled beyond the palace grounds, shared on X, with hashtags like Queensguard and military respect. Videos of Thornton's challenge and Winter's response garnering millions of views. Comments ranged from awe that guards' discipline is unreal to debate. Thornton was out of line, but he learned. Military forums buzzed. Veterans from NATO nations sharing stories of cultural misunderstandings resolved through mutual respect. A British sergeant posted, "Served with Yanks in Iraq takes time to get each other's ways, but respect always wins." An American colonel commented, "Thornton's a hard charger, but he met his match in protocol." Letters arrived at the palace. One from a Canadian veteran. "Winters showed what duty means. Proud to call you allies." Another from a London schoolgirl. "Read, I want to be a guard like him." Standing strong, Winters, unaware of the online storm, continued his duties. His next shift taking him to a covert briefing. His dual role a seamless blend of ceremony and combat. Thornton, back at the defense conference, shared the story with colleagues. His tone reflective, his respect for the Queen's Guard now a point of pride. Edwards and Blackwood met for tea. Their conversation a quiet celebration of diplomacy through understanding. The palace, in the quiet of another autumn day, stood as a symbol of tradition upheld. Its guards a reminder that respect is not demanded but earned. That discipline speaks louder than authority. For you, who've honored traditions, perhaps a family ritual kept alive, a community value upheld, or a personal oath never broken, this tale is a call to celebrate the moments when understanding bridges divides, when duty shines through challenge. What does true respect look like between traditions? This story shows that understanding matters more than authority. That discipline can teach where ego fails. Share your thoughts. Have you witnessed someone confuse position with respect? What traditions deserve more understanding? Subscribe to our channel for more tales of duty and honor. And join us in exploring the deeper meaning behind the Queen's Guard's unwavering discipline. Click the notification bell to stay updated. And share this story with someone who values military respect. Let's honor the principles that unite us, across uniforms and borders, in a salute to duty that echoes through time.